Welcome to Hermit Woods, where there's a story in every bottle.
Again?
A Monday again.
Again? It is
You're
again.
probably getting tired of us telling you that it's Monday again. You all know it's Monday.
You know, it's a very special one. This one happens once a year, not necessarily a Monday, but this is the 4th of July weekend.
This is. Did everybody have a great 4th of July? I sure hope so. We did. It was a lot of fun. Sorry it rained all weekend, but it actually was great here because we had lots of new space upstairs with the new loft. So there was lots of room for people to come in out of the rain, and we had a wonderful weekend with many of you here visiting us, and we really appreciated that. So thank you. But otherwise, I hope you all had a wonderful holiday weekend. A couple of things before we get started with our broadcast today. I just want to go over the normal orders of business. I wanted to let everybody know, if they like what we're doing here on the broadcast, to please follow our Facebook page, subscribe to our Facebook page, live viewings, and you can subscribe on YouTube also to our YouTube channel, and you'll get notified when we go live from now on. So stay tuned to us. We have information on our website about our Monday broadcast. We plan to go live every Monday at 5:30 from now for the rest of our lives, maybe. So you can always count on us, whether we're able to market it out there or not. You can count on us being there at 5:30 on Monday, short of some natural disaster or something. A couple other things. If you're with us today, please let us know. Make a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions, please ask them. We'll get to them as best we can within the broadcast, and we'll also, if we can't get to them in the broadcast, we'll answer them afterwards. And if you have some friends who you think would appreciate what we're talking about today or any of our Monday broadcasts, please let your friends know by sharing this broadcast with them, and then they'll know what we're all about.
It's going to be educational today. You know,
yeah.
We're going to talk about flowers, actually.
Excellent. So before we get into that, let's say hello to a couple folks. We have Matt online. Thanks, Matt, for joining us. We love that you're here with us every week. Janice, thank you again for joining us. And Marianne, it was nice to see you this 4th of July. Actually, I think it was Friday night. She was here for the piano night.
For the piano.
So it was nice to see you and chat with you that night. And Mike Apollo's here. Mike Apollo, some of you may remember, he was on our show not too long ago. He owns Apollo Vineyards down in southern New Hampshire and is doing a wonderful job growing grapes organically and making some very interesting wines. So if you haven't met Mike or visited Apollo Vineyards, you should do so.
Go try his Brianna.
Yes.
Awesome stuff.
Yes, he's doing some fun stuff with Brianna, and Judy's here with us. Hi, Judy. Nice of you to join us. So tell us, Ken, what are we talking about today?
Flowers. Well,
Flowers. Excellent.
Flowers, and then the berries that come from these flowers. These are elderflowers or elderberry flowers, and I've got a bit of an echo, Bob. Do you hear that?
Yeah, there's a little. You can't turn the volume all the way down on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Maybe I can mute the mic though. Will you keep talking?
Try that. Yeah. So right now, all over New Hampshire, the Lakes region, on the sides of the roads, especially where it's near a wet area, wetlands or something, you'll see these green bushes. They go anywhere from a few feet to 10 feet tall. And right now they're covered with these white flowers. And these are complex clusters of flowers. They're a fascinating branching sort of format, very fractal in nature, where it branches again, branches again, branches again. And these are elderflowers. And they have this incredible sort of like warm bread sort of aroma to them, very pleasant floral sort of component. And there's a famous liqueur, Saint Germain, that's made out of elderflowers, elderflower liqueur. And I've been enamored with the fruit and the flowers for many, many years. And one of the things that I do with the flowers, which of course means I don't get any berries from that particular bush if I'm plucking off the flowers, but they don't go to waste. These flowers get put into a mead. So I pull off the little flowers and drop those into a honey-based wine. And then the aromas and flavors from the flowers slowly infuse into the mead. It's similar to dry hopping a beer. So hops are a flower cone, and they have this wonderful floral character to them, and they also have a bitter resin, lupulin. And if you boil those hops, you get some of that bitterness out. And that's what goes in, acts as a preservative for our IPAs and our pale ales. But if you want to add that really floral, hoppy aroma, you pick those hops and put it into the beer without cooking it at all. So it's a cool infusion of those hop oils. So you don't get the bitterness, you get the floral component. So sort of like dry hopping here, I'm picking these flowers and putting it into the mead and letting it slowly infuse into that honey wine. I do this with a number of different flowers. Last year was black locust from right here in town. Daylily flowers, those orange daylilies are out in profusion right now on the sides of roads. Those make a really nice addition to a wine as well. Earlier,
this sounds like the creation of flower power.
How about that? You happen to mention a wine.
Yeah, wine? Wait a minute.
Oh,
wait a minute.
Wow.
Wine, we don't have anything in our glass.
Now that's the first time this has happened.
Wow.
I was so excited about sharing these flowers with people that I completely skipped pouring alcohol into our glass.
So while you do that, are these little beads here going to be berries?
No,
or
those are
unopened flowers?
Those are unopened.
Okay, so the berries come up behind it, or?
Yep. So the petals will fall off.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a little green berry that starts to form.
It looks like it's too early to see berries.
Well, the ones I picked were the ones that have the flower petals.
Right.
So on the bush were already some little green berries.
Okay.
And actually, when was it? Friday, when we had that severe wind and rain event that blew through?
Yeah.
That trashed so many elderflowers.
Good thing you got them.
I got some beforehand, and there were some that were still closed, like these, which have since opened. And they vary, ripening first in the southern part of the state and moving up towards cooler climates. The ones in my backyard are just starting to open up, so I have another source there.
So, and if people didn't know, elderberries, actually, once you start to see these on the sides of the road in the forests of New Hampshire, you'll see they're very abundant around
They're
here.
all over the place.
They grow everywhere, and they're also considered the healthiest fruit that you can consume in the Northeast, that grows naturally here in the Northeast. So
I consume it every morning.
every morning
With my tea.
as like elderberry syrup.
Yep, exactly.
So a lot of people do make it into a syrup. One thing you should not do is eat the berries off the elderberry plant. They tend to make you sick.
They can give you indigestion. They're kind of hard to digest unless you cook them. The green
cook
parts,
them or ferment them.
Yeah. The green parts of the plants are actually poisonous. You can really get quite sick from eating the green parts.
So careful eating the wild elderberries, but certainly get them home and you can make them into a syrup. You can boil them. Actually, I boil them with honey. I think that's what Ken does.
That's what I do. Yep.
I learned about it from Ken, and it makes a nice syrup. Keep it in the refrigerator, and you can add it to your tea and
that's what I do.
Any other.
Yeah, from just a healthy tonic, a little shot of elderberry syrup every morning is a great thing.
Yeah, so
it's a very good thing.
So not only do we get to make wine from one of the healthiest fruit in the Northeast.
I wonder if they did any experiments with elderberry for COVID. Prevent that.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe been a missed opportunity.
Might be working. You didn't have to get COVID, right? So we didn't get it. So yeah.
Cheers.
So
to that.
we're drinking flower power. So awesome. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Hey, Chuck's joining us.
We can get going here.
Chuck's here. Hey, Chuck.
Chuck.
Cheers, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck. We're drinking flower power. So this is actually a blend of 4 different meads with flowers infused into it. This was made back in 18. You know, it's fascinating. Sometimes I'll post pictures to Facebook when I'm harvesting flowers,
right.
And it acts as a timestamp.
Yeah.
And this time of year, a few days ago, I got a picture of all these strawberries that came in, and of course that's when
we just got all our strawberries in.
And then another picture of rhubarb, harvesting rhubarb, and we got a bunch of rhubarb. And then elderflowers showed up, and it's great. It just sort of timestamps. And this morning I got daylily flowers, and they're out all along my road again. It's perfect timing.
So this is nice. This has a really nice aroma to it.
It's
so this is elderflowers.
Elderflowers, daylily flowers.
Daylilies. I can really smell daylilies too.
Staghorn sumac.
Yep.
So staghorn sumac gives it this richer color. Mm-hmm. It's a red, big flower cone. And this vintage, I believe, is with hops from my backyard.
I think you're right. Yes.
Yes, this is with hops. Yep. So my son found some wild hops growing in our backyard at our homestead, and I transplanted some of those to outside the little brewery building.
Didn't some of those also come from Round Pond?
No, I used to harvest those. I did dig up some of the rhizomes from up in the Belknaps for Round Pond, but those were in Laconia. I didn't move them.
Oh, okay.
So the ones at my house are from the backyard.
So this is bone dry.
Yeah, so this is based on the 3 honey wine. So I start off with our 3 honey wine, which is fermented dry. It's an early season honey, very light, very floral honey. And it's added to some water and fermented. And you can see that. It's also a little cloudy. This is completely unfiltered, very natural, trying to trap all of the nuances and characteristics of the flowers. Sometimes filtration can remove some of those delicate components that you may want to preserve. And this is all about the aroma. There's a lot going on in this. I love this. This is, you know, if you like 3 honey, if you like mead, and I know Matt does quite a bit with meads. I don't know if you've tried our flower power yet, Matt, but I highly recommend it.
And every time I try this, I like it more and more. It's and I think it's the longer it ages, the more it comes together, and I don't know, it's just really drinking really nice right now.
This is
what, 3 years old?
This spent over a year in my favorite little barrel.
Oh, yes.
So this was...
I was just talking about your favorite little barrel recently.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, that's great.
Right now is the new version of Flower Power in that barrel, which is the Black Locust.
So you don't make very much of this?
No, 20 gallons.
20 gallons a year.
Yeah, I go 4 or 5 gallon carboys, each with a flower infused. This year, I'm hoping, I don't know if I missed the opportunity because of the weather, I was going to pick a whole bunch of elderberries and make 3 of these into elderflower mead to do that straight elderflower this year. I'm not picking daylilies.
We've never done that before.
I'm not picking those other flowers, but I did put up a carboy with dandelions. I've never done a dandelion wine before, and lots of people talk about dandelion wines. And I get a lot of dandelions in my yard. So back in whatever it is, May or early June, when they're all over the place, I picked a whole bunch of them and plucked off all the little yellow petals and put those into the carboy, just like I did here. Now, what do you think might go with this?
I was just wondering. So our deli has prepared a really nice plate of some really interesting foods. So
we got apples. These are pickles?
They're like a type of pickle with some onions or garlic. Those are maybe. Wow. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know what this is.
I'm gonna try that. That's some sort of new sauce. We've got bread. We've got a special mustard.
I gotta get more on top of what's going on in the deli. Looks like some fun stuff. I mean, I haven't tried this stuff.
So that's a dill pickle. I can't imagine it's going to go with the meat.
No, I can't imagine either. Anyway. I'm going to stay away from that. But you know what I am going to try with the Flower Power is this salmon.
Oh,
little piece of salmon, smoked salmon. Did it go good?
Oh,
no.
There was something that came out.
I got to try it now before I try the salmon.
It's the dill. It's the dill in the pickle. They don't clash at all. How does that work? Right?
Well, there's no sweetness in this.
I know, but
so this is savory.
But I get that there's a richness. There is a richness to it. From honey doesn't ferment as dry as a grape-based wine or a fruit.
So they don't clash, but I don't think it doesn't add to each other.
No, it doesn't add, but it
doesn't clash.
But it doesn't clash, which is shocking.
It is shocking to me.
It's shocking.
I don't think.
I mean, it's like a red wine with a vinaigrette salad.
Can you think of pickles with any wine?
Right.
I couldn't, but that's right.
It wasn't bad at all.
Thank you, Stephanie, for enlightening us here. I had no idea pickles went well with wine, but I wonder how they're going to go with this salmon.
Oh, try that.
I'm going to switch this back over here. So.
There's a lot of different aromas.
I know. Well, you got 4 different flowers plus different kinds of honeys. So
there's a little cheese and balsamic here I'm going to try on a cracker.
Ooh, salmon.
Good?
It's possible the salmon actually dominates.
It overpowers it.
The wine a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of very delicate things in here. Yeah. They stand out if you focus on them and get straight into it. I drink a lot of mead without any other food.
Yeah.
I like just drinking mead on its own.
Thumbs down on the salmon. It's too intense, the fishiness of the salmon, which is delightful, and I really enjoy it, but it buries the mead. Yeah. You just lose it, so it's a waste.
Yeah, this is a very delicate wine, and you need that balance, like with anything. The cracker, even on its own, overpowers the wine.
Really?
I've tried it with the balsamic and the cheese.
What about an apple?
Oh, that might work. Anybody else out there sipping wine and trying food right now?
I mean, Gary's just back from the boat, so let's see.
Wow. What's fun for me in all of this is to explore what this region produces. You know, there's elderberry flowers cropping up all over the place. Last year, the black locusts were out of control. It's really fun to see what we can do with those.
Yeah. Rachel says she's going to try wine and pickles. Careful, Rachel. Like I said, I can't imagine pickles going with really any wine.
Yeah.
It was a small miracle that it didn't clash with this one.
I was surprised. I think it's really the dill. There's a floral component to the dill, the coriander that went with this. And somehow the bright acidity of the dill, of the pickle, didn't clash with the wine. It made the wine a little sweeter.
Right. Let's see how it goes with apple.
All right. I'm going to try a piece of cheese here. It's like a cheddar.
Again, I don't find the two taking away from one another, but I'm not excited about what they create when they come together.
Ooh, cheddar's kind of nice.
Try some cheddar?
Yeah.
Harmon's really aged
Yeah.
cheddar cheese. Well, it's got to be one of the best cheeses I've ever had.
Yeah, I love
if
it.
you've ever get a chance to go up to Sugar Hill in New Hampshire, they have a little cheese shop, the cutest little place on the side of the hill, or actually it's in a little valley, and it's really good.
See what you think.
Let's go.
I get that creaminess of the cheese and those flavors in my mouth, but I don't destroy the wine. The wine still holds on. It lingers. It carries it out longer into the finish.
That works. That's
That
the
works,
one thing
I
on
think.
this board that I think goes with
But,
it.
you know, quite frankly, just drink this on its own.
All right,
That's the way all things
let's
should be
move
done.
on. So that was flower power, and we have as you heard, Ken said, we make 20 gallons. How many little splits do we get out of 20 gallons?
Let's see. We get 4 cases. We get 16 cases.
16 cases. So there's not a lot here.
200 bottles.
The good news is we don't sell a lot of it because we don't really taste it at the tasting bar. So if you want to try it, it's usually here.
Yeah, there's a number of wines that are like that.
Yeah.
That, we do in small experimental batches, and we don't have enough of them to just pour them behind the tasting bar. So we tend to just leave them on the racks for those that know. This will probably go out in our 2-bottle club too.
Yes.
We started a new club,
the 2-bottle
which is
club.
really exciting.
So that's Ken's opportunity. The 2-bottle club is going to be Ken's opportunity to really
Share these.
share some
Stuff
of
that
the
I'm
more esoteric
just really into.
and more interesting wines that Ken's creating that aren't necessarily going to be popular on a grand scale,
Right.
but for people, enthusiasts and mead lovers and wine lovers who really want to explore and try something different like we do, you're going to enjoy the 2-bottle a month club because you're going to get to try all of the sort of, I don't want to say oddball, but
Yeah, that's all right. Oddballs.
different.
The misfits.
Yeah, the misfits. Right from the beginning, if we haven't said this before, we should. We started this winery with the idea that we will only make those wines which we enjoy drinking. So we're not making wines for the rest of the world. Sorry. It's no offense, but it really is about creating wines that are special to us, that we really enjoy, that we really get excited about. That's what inspires us every day to get up, to keep doing it, to keep making these wines because they're good.
When we first made that crabapple wine, it was like we were sharing it with all our friends to just and they were like, "Wow, this is really good.
Right.
I enjoy that." So that's really the drive is to discover these things that are interesting and enjoyable around here, and then sharing those with you guys.
Excellent. And that's what we hope is that you will appreciate the same things that we appreciate and come to love the wines that we're creating with us. Gary pointed out that he's a member of the Misfit Club. I love it. That's great, Gary.
my daughter has a business called Misfit Yoga. So she teaches yoga to people who feel they are misfits in some ways. Like myself, I'm a misfit with making wine. I don't just stick to Pinot Noir and Sauv Blanc. I pick elderberry flowers on the side of the road and stick them into a wine. So
yeah, and
that's what it's all about.
Rachel talks about the fact that we are a local focus, and that's really
Thank
important
you, Rachel.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really, I remember my first wine assistant here, John, was a very good home brewer, brewed a lot of beers and very experimental. And he tried all sorts of different things. And we created some wines here together. But he would want to introduce things that were not native to this area, like blood oranges or papayas or something like that. And there's so much around here as it is. I don't even get to make all the stuff I want to make.
Right.
I haven't even begun to explore
With
what's
all of
here.
the available
And Cody's
food.
already scratching his head going, "Ken, you make way too many wines."
But you know what's really exciting is that every time we meet with a local farmer or we go to pick up fruit from a local farmer, it's so cool to be able to realize that what we're doing is actually creating an economy here. We're actually helping farmers produce fruit that they can sell. They can count on us every year to purchase that fruit. And it seems like the longer we're in business, the closer and closer we're getting to those relationships with our farmers.
Part of the tapestry of a sustainable society.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. I mean, shipping stuff all over the world in big boats and putting them in big box stores, is not sustainable. It's based on an energy source that's not going to last, and it's just a wrong model, I think. And so as we show that we can actually do this with local ingredients, local honey. This is from Troy Hall Apiaries over in
Claremont.
In Claremont.
Yep.
And these are elderberry flowers from off the side of the road. And that's a great thing.
I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. The best wines in the world are those which are purchased 50 miles or so from where they're produced. And the evidence or the truth to that is that probably 95% of all the wines produced in the world never leave 50 miles from where they're produced. So the odds are the best wines in the world have to be those. Right. How could 5% of the wines produce the best wines of the world? It's just statistically not possible.
So you need to travel and explore and go to these different places. There's groups like Garage East out of Seattle that help travel and find those unique wines and then share those with people. But really the exploration is the funnest, like when we go up to Canada or different places.
The direct-to-consumer model is changing that, because you just like with us, you can
get flower power in California.
You can get flower power in California. So there are exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, the small wineries around the world, 90 to 95% of them don't produce more than 5,000 cases of wine and are not distributing around the world. So you're not going to get to try those wines unless you get to meet the people who make them and get to visit the wineries. Yep. There's a handful of wineries, relatively speaking, that make tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of gallons of wine, and they distribute them to every supermarket around America and every supermarket around the world. And that's something different.
We've seen some of those tanks.
Yes. It's
amazing. They're outside. They're gigantic. They're like small apartment buildings that are cylindrical that go up, hundreds of feet.
Yeah.
And they're jacketed and they hold,
remember
1 million gallons of liquid.
Remember that place that had been converted into small shops, and it was basically a building made up of about a dozen of these massive wine tanks.
Oh, that was in the valley.
Cement wine tanks, yes.
Yes, in the Great Valley there.
So it was an entire building that was maybe 6 or 8 stories high of concrete tubes that used to store millions of gallons of wine for Gallo, I think.
It was Gallo in the 50s.
And they no longer use this facility, so they chopped holes in the bottom and created doors.
Chiseled
and each
through.
of these tanks became a site where different businesses set up shop.
Yeah, we met that young guy who was making
champagne in one of these little silos.
Silo.
In a wine tank.
Yeah, inside the wine tank. That was amazing.
So what are we going to talk about next?
Well,
we have a bunch of products here made from elderberries.
So these are all made with elderberries. We have our Hermitage, we have our elderberry wine, we have our Lake House Red, and we have a new one called Black Port. And I have a suggestion here, actually, since we're in the cellar. I don't know if you folks noticed here. Oftentimes we've been upstairs now since the loft has been open, but right now we've got barrels behind us. We're in our barrel room. And I have wine in these barrels, Bob. Is there a way to swing that camera around?
Yeah, where are you going to go? Over here?
I'm going to go right over here and take a sample.
Let's swing that around. There you go.
So I'm going to use a device called a wine thief. It's a stainless steel straw, basically. Remember as a kid, you put this into your milk or your water and pull it up, and you could, let that column drop out of it. So I'm going to pull the bung off of this barrel, and I'm going to take out a sample of wine. So this is how we do this. We'll take and put this down into the barrel and pull out some of the wine into a beaker for Bob and I to share. This is the 2020 vintage of Lake House Red. You haven't even had this.
No, we have another year before anybody's going to get to see that.
At least. It's always fascinating to me to sample wines as they evolve. So for those of you who don't know, the fermentation process only takes a few weeks for the yeast to convert all of the sugars into the alcohol of our wine. And then the wine sits around for many months or years maturing. And then eventually it's mature enough to go into bottle, and we put it into bottle. Oh, you're going to pan this as I walk. How fancy is this, Bob? I'm going to put this back into its holder here. This is a solution, a food grade, very low pH a solution called Star Sand to make sure that no contaminants go into the barrel at all.
Because you might be getting some out of another barrel later.
Of course.
There you go.
I might. So this is the 2020 Lake House Red. So Lake House Red is a complex blend. It is 4 different dark berries. All of the berries, of course, grow really well here in New Hampshire. We have wild blueberries. We have blackberries. We have black raspberries for the first time. This is typically made with red raspberries. For the first time, this is made with black raspberries. And
I have had this before then.
What's that?
I have had this before.
You have?
You have shared a long time ago, yeah. I think so.
How would you have this a long time ago?
Well, at some point you would, well, I remember, was there another batch made with black raspberries?
Nope, this is the first one.
So you've shared with me something made with raspberries. So, but it's a while ago, I don't remember.
Oh, it's maturing nicely. So as the wine ages, it's sitting in the barrel and it's getting this micro-ox activity as the barrel breathes and lets air come in and lets some of the wine evaporate off.
So what percentage of elderberries in here?
It's probably, relative to the other fruits, maybe 30%, 35%. It's
it seems
about
like
equal parts blackberry and blueberry, a good chunk of elderberry, and then a small amount of black raspberries. Raspberries are really strong flavor component.
Yeah. It's interesting. I find whatever we have that has elderberry in it, you can always tell. Elderberry is such a unique character all its own. Yeah.
Probably should have started with a straight elderberry, but that's right. I'm really excited about this.
The elderberries are crescendo.
So now, did you grab the spicy piece of meat?
I did.
See how that goes.
As soon as I drank this, I said, there's the spice right there.
Yeah, elderberry has this very unique, spicy, earthy component to it. I'm going all the way in for mustard with meat.
Really? Well, it definitely holds up to the meat. This is a bigger bigger Lake House Red than you've made in the past. It's more.
I'm making them all more intense. I love nice, big, rich red wine, dry red wine.
That's good.
Grapes, Vitis vinifera grapes, the Merlot, Cab, Grenache, Pinot Noir, all of those grapes create wonderful, dark, rich red wines. And I'm trying to see if I can approach that with this own unique blend in every one of these wines. That held up fine. This has it's a little unique here. So this is not just those berries stomped on and fermented. The dark berries that are in this, elderberries, blueberries, only have enough natural sugar to make around anywhere from 6 to 8% alcohol. And they're really intense, those berries. So if you take pure blueberries and ferment them, you get a very rich, intense wine out of it. You take pure blackberries or elderberries and ferment them, you get a really intense, rich thing. So what I do is I add a little bit of water to that mixture to end up with something that has the intensity of a red wine. So this fits, my background of drinking Provence reds or Cabernet. When I add water to the low sugar fruit, it reduces the sugar even more, and I'm never going to be able to produce the 13% alcohol that a grape would produce. So I have to add sugar into it while it ferments. So this is a crafted wine. I remember meeting with Clark Smith once, and this is, he said, "Oh, this is heavily manipulated." I said, "Yes, it is. It's heavily manipulated, but it is the natural fruit that's there to create this."
You should try that with the That was a no,
The balsamic?
with just the cheese. Just try a piece of cheese with that.
All right.
Matt mentions that he might love it as a wine slushy. And if you didn't know, we actually have been
careful. Careful.
We've been experimenting. It's kind of fun with wine slushies, and we found that that some of our interesting wines really make very interesting slushies.
Yes,
so
they do.
thank you, Matt. Actually, we had an elderberry slushy the other day that
I
was
know.
quite amazing. But anyway,
It's just a little hard.
it's hard,
folks,
yeah.
Just so you
it's
know,
only in the garden.
To
It's not here.
spend 2 years crafting a heavily nuanced, nice, delicate, balanced wine to enjoy in the glass, and then dumping in a machine with some water and sugar to make a slushy. So just saying, it's a
different
tough.
product.
But I agree, we actually have Red Scare in a slushy, and it's really darn good. It's really good.
You heard it here, right?
Yeah, I said that. I
it.
did say that, but I would rather drink Red Scare straight up.
What do you think of it with
than
the
a slushy.
cheese?
I like that.
Isn't
That's
that
a
good?
very light cheese.
Yeah, and there's a tang. There's
Maybe it's
something
a goat
about
cheese or something that.
Yeah, I'm not. I think it's mozzarella.
Oh, it's mozzarella. Yes, that's mozzarella.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there was something about the tang in the wine
That went with it.
It went.
Yeah.
It really was a nice combination.
Do you want to compare it to the last Lake House Red? Or do you want to move on to another barrel?
We have so many other wines to try. What's the next barrel?
Well, the next barrel. I'll go to the far one. Let's go straight to Elderberry.
All right, we haven't. Yeah, we are talking about elderberry today. So,
All right, just going to take the ladder. Sneak by you here so I can get my wine thief. So this is also the 2020 vintage.
here, stand to your. Yeah, that's so
This
they
way?
can see you get that. There you go.
Are we visual?
Yeah.
There we go.
We're
Hi,
good to
everyone.
go.
This is my favorite place, down
I know.
here, sampling barrels. It's really, I
happy
never
place.
would have dreamed when you and Chuck and I were in my barn squeezing the heck out of a bunch of Cabernet grapes that I would ever have a full-size barrel, 50 of them, full of very unique, locally based wines. It was 2014, 4 years after we started this winery, that we shifted to entirely locally based non-grape wine. So prior to that, and from our very beginning, we were exploring and working with grapes from regions that grew Vitis vinifera grapes really well.
Yep.
But it was 2014 where we finally went all the way in and said, that's it. So this is the latest vintage. We don't get elderberries, we have the flowers right now. The elderberry fruit doesn't come ripe until August or late August up here, mid-August further south.
So this is 100% elderberry.
So this is 100%. And you can tell right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Right off the bat. It's got this really unique, earthy character to it. And spicy. Very spicy.
Oh, that's nice.
I love the way this vintage came out.
Yeah,
It's really.
Mostly, my experience with straight elderberry is too much. It's too intense, and we have to blend it. But this is pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm learning. As time goes on, I'm learning. I'm trying to work with better balance with the fruit, with the techniques and approaches, with the fermentation process, with the yeast that I use, and I'm really happy about this. This is really coming out nice.
That's your best
on its own.
straight elderberry ever.
And again, it's not, it's me a little bit to craft all this, but it's all about growing the fruit and about the bigger system that's out there. Thank you. I think this is the best elderberry yet, but it's so much to do with the bigger biosphere of activity. All right, I'm going to try this spicy pepperoni thing.
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's anything. Maybe the mustard. Maybe.
Go for bread with mustard.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try some of this prosciutto with the mustard and the bread. How's that? See what we can do with that.
So, the spiciness of the wine holds up just fine with the spiciness of that salami.
Fortuna
But
salami.
Fortuna. But I'd rather have a beer with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too spicy, too intense. It's like a pepperoni, it's just too much for a wine. Or maybe a nice chilled Sauv Blanc or something like that, or a semi-dry Riesling would balance some of it. How's that?
Surprisingly good. You should try it. I'd be interested to hear what you think about it.
Hold on, I'm still coughing from the pepperoni. Oh. Really spicy. So what did you do? You did a little bit of mustard?
So a little mustard, bread, and
Oh, did you make that for me? Thank you.
Here we go. Try that. I think it's good. There's a lot of different flavors going on in your mouth all at once, which is what's fun.
There's a sweetness from the mustard almost.
Right, elderberry totally holds up to mustard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I could eat that together
And that
all day.
crusty bread
Soaks
really
it up.
goes nicely with it. Soaks it up.
That's a winner. It's so fun when you get that, when you hit it right.
All right, try pickle.
No, I'm gonna pass on that one. No pickles.
Come on, we gotta try it.
Pickles and wine.
I'm gonna try it.
Okay, you try it. I'm not gonna do it. Save the pickles for I don't know for well, there's nothing else here they're gonna go with.
I can tell just from the smell.
It's not gonna work. Well, we told Rachel, pickles and wine generally go together.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So, elderberries make a wonderful wine on their own. I do, when I end up putting it in a bottle, I'll often blend it with some blueberry, because the blueberry adds a
the elderberry
palate richness. That's the elderberry that's in the bottle. And eventually, when that barrel is used, it will be blended with some blueberry.
Right.
It just
Or also
rounds it
into
out.
the Hermitage.
Well, now Hermitage is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
That is the premier. That's the focus.
We should go there
really.
next.
We'll go there next?
Yeah.
I have some in a barrel right there. In the very first barrel
let's do that. And while you're doing that, Matt wants to sponsor a barrel. I don't know what that means yet, but Matt, I'm going to figure it out. So coming soon, the opportunity to sponsor a barrel at Hermit Woods Winery. So speaking of barrels, let's go get some wine. Let's get some Hermitage out of the barrel. There we go.
Taking the bung off. Putting that in a good clean solution. I think I need to sample a little bit more. Those last two times I didn't get to go through enough food.
You need more.
Right? I need to take
more wine
of this. Okay. So this is the very first barrel, full-size barrel we bought.
That's an American oak barrel.
It's an American oak barrel. Yes. And it's by now had many, many different wines in it. And it's got some stains from various spills, but it still does a beautiful job of enhancing the wine. So this is the 20 Hermitage. And for the first time ever, Bob, I've blended it this early in its age, and it's aging together. So normally what I would do would be to age elderberry, age blueberry, age blackberry, and then combine them and then bottle it. But I want to see and nuance the blend a little bit more finely. So I've blended this after lots of trials, and you sampled some of those as we were going through it. And now it's sitting in the barrel really blending fully, And I still have a little bit of blackberry. I still have a little bit of blueberry. I still
So
have
you
some
can tweak
elderberry.
it.
So I can tweak it a little bit before it goes to bottle.
Yeah. How long is it going to go through that process?
I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll know today.
Lots of samples.
Lots of samples. Lots of drinking.
Lots of samples. It's really been a fun endeavor. And early on, you had a writer here who knew a lot about wine. And he wrote specifically about us attempting to make wines that could compete or were of similar depth and character to classic red wines. Do you remember that guy? It was early on. I think it's the article that's in the Mill Falls magazine.
Yes, yes.
And
he moved down to Rhode Island. I remember him.
Yeah, he
really got it.
All about classic wines, which was wonderful. You know, we could talk to him about Haut-Brion, about Margaux, about classic Bordeaux or Saint-Emilion Merlot-based wines. And he was interested to learn about us and what we were doing. And of course, had a little bit of skepticism, of course, to what's going on. Because, I mean, quite frankly, it's most fruit wines that are made have a different target. They're looking for that fruity. They're looking for that young freshness, typically a little sweeter, a different trajectory, a different goal. You and Chuck and I love drinking classic dry red wines. So we went down this path of seeing what we can do with the local fruit in that trajectory.
This is amazing.
This is...
Just as soon as I stuck my nose in the glass, I realized there's something unique and special about this vintage.
This is I'm really excited. I
Hermitage.
only have 2 barrels. It's a smaller vintage, unfortunately, but it's...
Oh, just the nose. It doesn't have, you know, it's like the acidity in the nose has dropped back. So it's rounder in the nose.
That's been one of my biggest challenges and goals. So, you know, Germany is really known for its white wines because it's a little cooler there, and red wines can develop a higher acid bite to them and not work so well. As you head further south into Italy, into southern France or Bordeaux, you can grow really nice red wines. And here we're a cooler climate, so our red berries have a high acid component, and it's a challenge. And I don't want to throw a bunch of chemicals in there and manipulate it that way at all. I want to see if I can do this through blending, through working with the fermentation process. And this is as close as I've come to really, it's just really.
This is your best vintage. I say this every year, though, but it's true. You're learning every year. You're learning a lot.
That's it. Yeah, I'm really starting to get some. I used to really be. When I first put a wine in that barrel, I was shakingly nervous. There was a whole big thing in a barrel. I didn't know how to move the thing around or how to get the wine in and out of it properly or anything. Now it's much more comfortable, so I can really start to paint.
So what vintage is this?
20.
I think you're going to release this in 23. I think this needs time. But if we give this the time it needs, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, this is really young.
Yeah, it's so young and fresh and bright, but it has all the components. You just know that this is going to just round out nicely as it ages.
It needs a little bit more tannic structure barrel background, which it'll get from the barrel.
Yeah.
This just got blended up a few months ago.
Yeah, I know. It's young. That's what I mean. It's young, but it's got all the parts. I just know it does. Yeah. And actually, what I really want to do is try this in 10 years. So when I'm in my late 60s, we're gonna enjoy this
10 years.
wine. Yeah.
I'm gonna try this. I have
no idea what it is. Let me know what it is before I go and try it. Do you think this would hold up with salmon? I think it's too intense. What is that? It looks like a maple product.
It's really tasty. It's a cheesy spread.
Kind of find out more about it.
But I don't know what it is.
To go with the wine?
So Hermitage, the first vintage was 2012. That's what that guy wrote the article about, because he was here in like 14 or something like that. Because we had moved into town here and he was writing for the Mills.
Right. Mill Falls.
But we were sampling 2012. And when we had Diane Uncorked on here, she had saved a bottle of 2012 from coming to our winery. Remember, she opened up the Hermitage from 2012?
You know, this holds up with salmon. You know what's interesting? Everybody talks about fish. You gotta have white wine with fish,
which is really, really nice.
It's really nice
there with.
But this
oysters.
Salmon's an exception. Salmon really holds up.
I often think of Pinot Noir or Grenache when I think of salmon. I think of those two wines to go well with it, and it goes with this.
I think so. It's not perfect. The wine's a little more intense than maybe I would prefer it. I think definitely a Pinot would be closer to what salmon would appreciate, but salmon holds up well. It's got a lot of flavor to it. So
yeah, this crushes it. I think it overpowers it. Yeah. But not bad. Again, it's like flower power and pickles. They're not bad together, but they don't really enhance one another and go forward.
What about the spicy meat? We have to try this.
I don't know. You can try that, but
I
have a feeling no. Go for it.
What about pickles?
Pickles and wine? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. The
mozzarella is not strong enough for it,
and the meat's too spicy.
Much. It's too spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did go well with this?
Really aged cheddar. That's going to be the home run. I bet you. Try that. For those of you who have not tried cheese with wine, there's a wonderful synergy. They're both fermented, but the oils and fat in the cheese sort of coat your mouth, and they take up the tannic grip of a red wine, of a dry red wine, and they let the fruit come forward.
That's good. The cheese works.
I took up 200 milliliters of that, but it still wasn't enough.
Not enough. We got to open something else.
Well, we have one big bomber to try to end off with.
All right, what is it? We got, we've got 5 minutes. We better open it. We're at an hour go. Here, why don't you open this? Let me check in with everybody, see where everybody's at. While you're opening that.
5 minutes left?
I know. It's only 5 minutes.
Seems like we just started.
I know. So there's some great conversations going on here. Janice is talking about our travel plans, and we have talked about going to South Africa. So in 2023,
January
of 2023, we want to take a whole bunch of you, if you're interested in going to South Africa with us.
I'm interested.
Great trip that's going to be. So that's in the works. We'll start really digging in on that in the fall and in the winter. And so thanks for your interest in that. And Matt's still talking about the sponsored barrel. He has a suggestion for how we might do that. We're going to work on that, Matt. Don't you worry.
We'll figure that out, Matt.
We'll figure that out. And he says we need a bigger wine cellar. No, Matt, we don't need a bigger anything right now. I think we've been building for 7 years.
The thing is, too, if we build a bigger space, we'll fill it.
Yeah.
And then we'll need a bigger space. And we'll think about a bigger space. So this is on purpose. Lockdown.
Yeah.
Done.
We're done. This is as big as we're going to get. Now we just make better wines.
We got that on
Moving
video.
right along.
We got that on video. Got it, Chuck.
And Gary wanted to let us know that Hermitage is one of his favorites. It's one of my favorites too, Gary. So thank you for that. And Chuck says more is better.
Chuck, come on.
You're coming on board with Bob, I see. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, this trilogy thing. It's just terrible.
All right. So what are we drinking?
Well, this is black, dark.
Wow, my glass even feels heavier.
It's heavier. We may actually want to switch to a little flute. because this is going to concentrate the alcohol. So this is a new release.
Just hover higher over the.
This is actually 18%. So this is full up there. And this is a port made the way a lot of ports are made. Not exactly the same because there's no grapes involved. But this is an elderberry, black raspberry, fortified wine that spent a year in my favorite little barrel. And I have to tell you, I took that wine out of my favorite little barrel to bottle it up. Then I rinsed the barrel really well. And then I put my next batch of flower power in there. The flower power is already really dark color.
Uh-oh. Flower power is becoming a red wine.
It is becoming a red wine from this stuff. Because look how dark this is.
Well, cheers. This is our last wine for this evening's tasting. So
this is called Black Port. It's a black raspberry elderberry blend.
wow. Talk about all these flavors. So this is fortified with brandy.
Yes. And then it's back sweetened to give that.
So it's about 4%, 5% residual sugar?
I think so. That's about what
so
it is.
It feels like.
Yeah. So it just sort of coats your tongue. Black raspberries actually have a very high pH, low acid component. So it makes it kind of slippery and smooth.
I got to try it with this.
You try with that. I'm going with the really aged cheddar.
We know it's going to go with the really
I know. I'm going all in.
Everything goes really good with the cheddar.
No, but this is really going to go with this.
You know what I really enjoyed when Geraldine and I were traveling in France? At the end of every meal at all of the nicer restaurants that we visited in France, they would bring over the cheese plate, the cheese tray. And they'd bring over this tray of local.
Do they know how to live or what?
Oh my God. So for dessert in France, you have cheese. So that's the first thing I thought of when you presented a dessert wine. Only thing we have on this tray that's going to go well with this.
Nicely. This is already smoothing out.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Cheese.
A little piece of cheese.
For dessert.
My dad from his travels in Italy, same thing. Really well-aged Parmesan. Crystalline.
Oh, crystalline.
Chunky.
You got to get the crunch.
Yeah, the crunch. And it's just fantastic. This has smoothed a lot just in the 6 months in the bottle.
Well, what this is, what's the cheese?
Mozzarella?
Mozzarella. It does not hold up.
No, it doesn't. It's not
It's
gonna hold up.
buried. Even with
the cheddar.
Even with the
balsamic?
With the balsamic
Yeah.
sauce on it. I got to go with the cheddar. I think it's the only thing on this tray that's going to go with this.
I really like the aroma of this.
Well, cheddar works.
The black raspberries are just turning red in my yard. And they'll ripen up in the next 2-3 weeks, and I'll harvest those. And they're a fascinating plant. I was talking to Marika's mom over in the garden today, and she has black raspberries that are just starting to turn red.
Will she harvest them for us?
And I don't know. I'm sure she has lots to do with them. But they're a very difficult plant to trellis and train, although our good friend farmer, Bob Perkins, where we've harvested his peaches, and we get his rhubarb, an ancient variety of rhubarb from England for our wine. He has planted 200 black raspberry plants for us and 400 blackberry plants for us.
Wow.
So he is going, I've been talking to him about trying to get local high quality fruit. We get his tomatoes, and he's picking some of those green this year. We're doing some experiments with green tomatoes for wine. And so I'm hoping to get a local source for black raspberries, because they're really hard to train and get a lot of them. These black raspberries actually came all the way across country from Oregon. So although they grow here, it's difficult to get them in any volume. My yard produces about a quart.
Yeah, your whole yard.
My whole yard.
5 acres of land. This cheese, this cheese and this wine go together so beautifully.
Yeah.
If you haven't had cheese for dessert, Start right away. If you have some cheese in your refrigerator,
It is
the
great
best dessert.
Yeah.
Stop having it, don't stop.
With a big rich wine.
Yeah, big rich wine.
Port.
Skip the cheese. Next time you're thinking about having cheese and crackers before your meal, skip it, have something else, and save the cheese. And at the end of your meal, get a nice rich port or something like that, and enjoy cheese for dessert. It's really fantastic.
I've got to share this in the 2-bottle.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. I think Gary's in the 2-bottle. Gary, you got to have a bottle of
what
this
do you
stuff.
call it? Gary called it the. What do you say? You coined the phrase, and Gary jumped right on it. The Misfit Club.
The Misfits Club. Yes, that's what it is. Yeah, instead of calling it 2-bottle, we'll call it the Misfits. It's 2 bottles a month, every month.
All right. So on that note, we're on the dessert wine.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. This has been fun. Once again, we really enjoy spending our Monday afternoons with you. I hope you enjoy it with us as well. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday. I don't know what we're doing next Monday, but
We'll do something.
we'll do something.
It will involve drinking wine.
It absolutely will involve
Or
drinking
beer
wine.
or cider or mead or something like that.
Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you next Monday at 5:30. And yes, it'll be another Monday, and we'll be drinking
And we'll be
wine.
astonished again.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening.